So, after checking out the Sony XV900 and being pleasantly surprised, I was very excited to check out the Sony XV800. Now, Sony has definitely made some major changes here. Now, overall, I like the XV800 and it's a really good option if you want some mellow bass out of your box speaker, but I definitely do still have my critiques about the Sony XV800. Regarding pricing, the XV800 has a retail price of $650, and just knowing Sony, I expect the speaker to go on sale on a regular basis. Now, the XV800 is not a replacement for the XP700. The XP700 isn't going anywhere. But long story short, yes, the XV800 is better than the XP700. Nonetheless, if you want to pick this speaker up, it'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, pick up a big head approved hat. Link down below. We've got trucker hats and snapbacks. By buying a hat, you help the unbiased and unsponsored videos coming, and it also helps us cover more products and produce more versus videos. Thank you to everyone who's already bought a hat, and look out for more designs coming soon. Now first, let's talk about the design of this speaker. Size-wise, the XV800 is about the same size as the XP700, but the XV800 just looks slimmer and sleeker. Now, just like with Sony's other box speakers, the XV800 has a mostly plastic body, which can be a scratch magnet if you try to transport this speaker. And it also has a metal grille on the front, which can get dented rather easily. Now, this speaker weighs in at 40 pounds, but thankfully, Sony has gone ahead and added wheels to the speaker, which makes transporting the speaker a little easier. The only problem is these wheels are a little small, so if you try to roll this speaker on rough asphalt, you're gonna have a bad time. So these wheels are going to be better on a smoother surface. Overall, I just wish Sony would add some more rugged wheels on their speakers. But the good thing is this speaker has a lot of carrying handles built in, so carrying the speaker is a little easier. But as with most other box speakers, the XV800 is rocking an IPX4 rating, so if this speaker were to get rained on or if drinks get spilled on it, it'll be perfectly fine just as long as the port panel on the back is covered. But one significant design change about the XV800 is that it now has capacitive buttons up top, and these buttons actually light up. So controlling your media on the speaker is a little easier now, especially if it's dark. The only thing that I do need to point out about this speaker is that it doesn't have a speaker stand mount on the bottom, like with some other speakers out there. But next up, there's the light feature on this speaker. The XV800 has your typical Sony light bar up top and down below. Overall, this light feature is better used while at night or indoors, and personally, I am a little disappointed that the XV800 doesn't have floor lights like the larger XV900. I really thought Sony's new line of speakers was going to differentiate itself from other speakers by having those floor lights. Regardless, you definitely shouldn't make your speaker purchase decision on the light feature of your speaker, and also if you do decide to use this light feature, it is going to take its toll on the battery life. Now, when it comes to battery life on this speaker, the XV800 has an advertised battery life of 25 hours, but this advertised battery life of 25 hours is with this speaker playing at 30% volume, which is a decent listening volume for at-home use, and that's with the mega bass feature turned on, which is good, but that's with the light feature turned off. But real-world use with the speaker playing at 65% volume, which I feel is a reasonable volume for when you're using it with friends, and with the mega bass feature turned on and with the light feature turned on, the XV800 is good for about 10 hours of playback time, which is really good. And Sony claims that if you were to use this speaker at max volume, it's going to be good for 3.5 hours of playback time. Now, just keep in mind, if you were to use this speaker while it's in stamina mode, and that's when the mega bass and light feature on this speaker is turned off, you're going to be able to extend the battery life of this speaker. However, if you use this speaker while in stamina mode, that is going to make this speaker sound rather flat. But in general, battery life on this speaker really varies depending on how you use it. If you use it at a higher volume, that's going to drain your battery life faster, or if you use it with the mega bass feature turned on, that's going to drain your battery life, or if you use it with the light feature turned on, that's going to drain your battery life as well. But also, I want to quickly address the fast charging on this speaker. Now, Sony claims that if you were to plug the speaker in for 10 minutes from a dead battery, you're going to get 3 hours of playback time. But these 3 hours of playback time is with this speaker playing at 30% volume and with the mega bass feature turned on, and with the light feature turned off, and that's also with the battery care feature turned off. Now, when it comes to connectivity, the speaker can be connected to two devices at the same time, so you and a friend can both be DJing, and latency isn't an issue with this speaker, so you can always use it to watch videos on your phone. And when it comes to audio codecs, the XV800 has support for SBC and AAC, and it also has support for LDAC, which is Sony's own in-house high-res audio codec. Just keep in mind that if you want to use LDAC, you do have to be an Android user because iPhones top out at AAC. And also, if you do decide to use LDAC, that is going to take an additional toll on the battery life. Now, when it comes to ports, just as you'd expect, the speaker still has an audio jack, so you can still use it with a wired connection. Now, I know this sounds very basic, but I do have to point this out because LG and their infinite wisdom actually removed the audio jack on their new XBoom XL7. Now, I just think this was really dumb on LG's part, and I really hope that this isn't going to be some new trend, but sadly, the XV800 still does not have an audio out jack. However, something that this speaker does have is that it has an optical port, and it also comes included with its own optical cable. And personally, I do think that this is a feature that's nice to have, and it does help make this speaker a little bit more versatile, and it does help justify buying the speaker. Because if you don't already have a soundbar, and if you just need a little extra something to watch the game with, then the XV800 can come in clutch here.
Now, the XV800 has two 1/4-inch inputs, and you can plug in two microphones for karaoke, or you can plug in a guitar. But unfortunately, you cannot adjust the sound of your microphone. Now, you can go in and add an echo, but personally, I don't like adding echoes to my microphone, so hold on, let me just turn this off. Hello? Okay, so echo is off. But interestingly enough, when you plug in a microphone into the speaker, you're going to be able to adjust the key of your music. But this key change only affects the music itself. It doesn't affect your microphone. So whatever music you're playing, you can make it sound super bright or super warm. Personally, I do feel that this is a very odd feature on the XV800, and I just wish that you could be able to adjust the sound of your microphone. But regardless, the XV800 is still a solid option if you're looking for something for karaoke.
But now let's talk about sound. Regarding speaker setup, the XV800 has two front-mount firing woofers with an exhaust port that shoots out the front, and this thing has a total of 5 tweeters on it. There are 3 on the front and there's 2 on the back. Now, when the speaker is standing upright, it'll use these 2 tweeters and the 2 on the back, and when you have the speaker laying on its side, it'll use these 2 tweeters and the 2 on the back as well. But now we're going to jump into the sound test. The XV800 is playing at 75% volume, and we're going to be using it with its mega bass feature turned on. We're also going to be using it with its mega bass feature turned off, and we're also going to be using it while it's plugged in and with its mega bass feature turned on as well.
Take me up to heaven, heaven, heaven. Yeah, she got me reaching still. Nothing to stop me falling. Who knew that love could kill? I don't wonder why I'm breathing heavy like the weight of it's on my chest. On my chest. Cause it ain't no lie, I need it more than any metaphor could express. Could express, could express. If looks can't kill, maybe I like tomorrow, but I'll be reaching still. Cause it's a feeling I can't let go. Can't kill, then maybe I die tomorrow. 1 foot on the ladder. Yeah, you know she got me climbing still. Nothing to stop me falling. Oh, who knew that love could kill? I don't wonder why I'm breathing heavy like the weight of it's on my chest. On my chest. Cause it ain't no lie, I need it more than any metaphor could express. Could express, could express. If looks can't kill, maybe I like tomorrow,
Now first, I want to adjust max volume performance on this speaker. Now while it's running off of its internal battery, the XV800 gets decently loud for its size, and it gets a little louder than the XP700, and I feel that this speaker is adequate for a 20-person party. However, if you were to use this speaker while it's plugged in, you're going to get a noticeable performance boost out of it. It's going to get louder and it's going to have more bass. So if you want to get the most out of this speaker, you want to use it while it's plugged in. Now, when it comes to the actual sound quality of this speaker, I really like the changes that Sony has made here. First off, the XV800 sounds a lot more balanced now, especially when compared to the XP700. The XP700 has always leaned towards a warmer sound signature, whereas the XV800 has a much more balanced sound signature to it. Now this speaker still has a decent amount of bass and it doesn't sound as bright as, let's say, the JBL Partybox 310, but the important thing is that the mids on the XV800 actually have a room to shine here, so vocals are a lot more pronounced here when compared to the XP700. But one of the most important changes here is the bass on this speaker. Now the XV800 has a frontward firing exhaust port now, unlike the XP700 whose exhaust port shoots out the back, and as a result, the bass on the XV800 is different from the bass on the XP700. On the XV800, the bass here isn't as physical as the XP700. It's more on the audible side, but more importantly, it's much cleaner and smoother. Now, don't get me wrong, by no means does the speaker sound flat, and the bass on the speaker still has a good amount of physicality to it, but the bass on the speaker isn't as wall shaking as with some other speakers out there. Overall, I like how the XV800 sounds, but this is going to come down to a matter of taste. With the XV800, you're going to get a more balanced sound signature out of it, and the mids are more pronounced than the XP700. And the bass is much more mellow and more on the audible side. Now, you can still feel the bass with this speaker, but if you want something with more bass, then you might want to go with something else. Nonetheless, like I have said multiple times already, I like how this speaker sounds, and even though you can go in and adjust the EQ on this speaker to your liking, personally, I think Sony got it right this time with their stock Mega Bass EQ. But now let's talk about pairing the speaker up with other speakers. Now, the XV800 is using Sony's Party Connect, and if you have two XV800s, then you'll be able to wirelessly pair them up and get them to play in left and right stereo mode. Or you can pair it up to other Party Connect speakers like either an XV900, an XV800, an XP700, or XP500, and you can pair them up and get them all to play in sync, and you can have up to 100 speakers playing together, which is obviously just overkill. I don't expect anybody to actually do this. But the cool thing about Sony's Party Connect is that you can pair your larger box speakers with any of Sony's smaller, more portable speakers that are also using Party Connect, like let's say an XG500, XG300, XE300, XE200, an XB43, XB33, or XB23. So if you already have any of Sony's smaller, more portable speakers, and if you're thinking about getting the XV800, then you'll be able to wirelessly pair them up. And this is something that you can't do with JBL speakers. Now, even though Sony's Party Connect is very accommodating and it definitely gets the job done, sometimes Party Connect can be a bit of a hassle to use. Sometimes it does take forever for all of your speakers to get paired up, especially if you're trying to pair a lot of speakers together. Sometimes all of your speakers don't get paired up on the first try, so you're going to have to go through the pairing process multiple times, and sometimes skipping does happen. Now, this doesn't happen all of the time, but this is just a heads up as to what to expect with Party Connect. But with all that being said, the Sony XV800 is a step in the right direction for Sony. From a sound quality standpoint, I really like the much more balanced sound signature coming out of this speaker. Sony's really using all of those tweeters because the mids are a lot more pronounced, and as a result, the vocals are much easier to hear on this speaker. And the bass is very smooth as well. The battery life on the XV800 is also very good. The optical port also helps make this speaker a little more versatile if you need a little more oomph for game night. And personally, I like the sleeker design of this speaker. Now, I'm glad to see that Sony added some wheels to the XV800 because it helps make life a little easier, but I wish these wheels were larger. And even though I am indifferent about the light feature on the XV800, I really wish it had floor lights like the XV900. But nonetheless, the XV800 is a solid pickup, especially if you're looking for a more mellow sound signature. If you made it this far, I guess you enjoyed the video, so hit the like button and get subscribed. If you want to pick any of the products up, they'll be linked down below. And if you want to further support the channel, check out the merch. I made some shirts and hoodies that look and feel great. And you know I can be very particular, so I'll only slap my name on something if I'm really proud of it.